Do you know anything about LP Marketer, Justin, or Live Engage platform outside of their normal?
Yeah, they used analytics to and business rules to dictate when chats pop up, and things along those lines. Is the general impression that I got from reading their literature.
Do you think we should avoid our live chat within the live or no?
See, I don't know. I mean, that's their forte. That's what they do. There's obviously no way they would, use our live chat, because it just, contradicts their entire business model. But if we could find a way to gear our live sessions to coincide with their live chat, that would be what they would be interested in, I think, from if I were sitting in his shoes.
Yeah, it's just the only thought is, of course, like usual, he's probably not thinking anywhere near that big, for trying to. But that would be kind
Well,
of.
he doesn't know we have live customer monitoring, so you add monitoring to live chat, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's a puzzle that fits the piece as well. But it's all about how he interprets it.
Yeah, I might. I mean, the point of showing it to him is also to kind of say, oh, so it's possible to have chat from how you're running. Okay, and if we say ours isn't polished, obviously ours isn't super polished, if you say, so I'm just not sure if that'd be a negative or positive.
So in that case, we might want to say we could, sync our APIs together to use your live chat services with our live videos and, things like that.
Yeah, and this person's also product marketing. So, yeah, and also I'm going to introduce you a lot more formally to be able to talk, I just feel like the questions will ask with. So.
Mm-hmm. They do have a Google Analytics. It's called Live Person Aid. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Yeah, I mean,
it automatically creates business rules from your pre-existing analytics as well. So
business rules are just triggers and tagging, basically, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a clean term. I like business rules a lot more than tagging and segmentation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that differs, but just for us to remember, I like that a lot. Obviously,
well, you use the data to create the business rules, so it's just more of a marketing term than dork term.
Yeah,
I think it'll connect a lot more of these CMO figures.
Oh yeah, I think I've never heard that term to relate these things. Yeah, I think it's definitely better.
LP Marketer actually looks like it's what we envision as scripting.
Yeah.
What they do also.
Yep.
I wonder what their price range is. They have nothing listed anywhere.
You know what that means?
Yep.
I forgot if it's them or not, but a couple of the big chat companies have where you pay by revenue you make for people only, which obviously is a much smarter model.
Yeah. Good. You can just go in there anytime. That's just fine.
Huntington Bank has a meeting set up, so waiting 3 months for a follow-up didn't hurt. Okay, so
When's the follow-up, this month? Or
3
next,
weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Nate.
Yes, sir.
Fuck, we never told Tori about the Hitachi. She just emailed him and wrote a long response. Fuck. It's not a huge deal. I'm going to respond directly.
You're good.
Alright, so we fucked up at telling you I knew we hadn't, but we took the Hitachi meeting yesterday afternoon. He emailed us at 4:30 saying he took it at 5. I just responded back and told him to disregard your email. It's not a huge deal.
Okay, so
I thought we
nobody
told
sent me
you.
an email?
Huh?
Nobody sent me an email?
I thought James CC'd you on follow-up. I don't know. But yeah, so either way, if we didn't, yeah, that was a mistake on our end. So. You heard the loud fuck, right?
The what?
The loud fuck.
No.
Yeah, but it's not a big deal.
What happened?
No, nothing. I'm just.
Oh.
Hello?
Not yet. Yeah, she took off the difference.
Damien?
Good morning. Hello, this is Damien.
Hi, Damien. It's Patrick and Justin from UPCO. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Justin.
Good morning.
Where are you joining us from, Damien?
I'm in New York City. I used to live in Boston, but I quickly grew tired of the stress and the cost of life and the traffic, so I thought moving to Manhattan would be a wise choice.
Well, I've actually lived in both of those locations in the last 2 years, so I understand the joke completely. Yeah. A lot more lines. It's funny when people transition. I transitioned from New York to Boston. People are responding, "Wow, there's so few lines here," and I'm just like, "Wow, it's people are spoiled with these two areas. It's not very traditional." So that's funny.
Yeah.
But I definitely.
You guys are in San Francisco?
We're in La Jolla. I don't know. It's north of San Diego. I don't know. Are you
north of
familiar?
San Diego.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the area? Are you come out west much? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we have an office in San Francisco, and I used to work for Yahoo in their search department, but I've never made it down to San Diego. I'd love to go there if I have the opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. So, if you don't mind telling me, Damien, I did look up, your background and title. Can you tell me a little bit more, just to summarize what you do for LivePerson?
So I think my title may be a little bit misleading because I joined in the capacity of a director of product marketing. I kind of play a sort of a hybrid role at LivePerson between sort of product management, product marketing, and sort of sales enablement. And so I'm responsible for some of our sort of solutions geared at sort of sales and customer service customers. And we help basically our customers engage with their visitors through a variety of different channels. But I'm also kind of interested on how we can improve our website, because we're going to be changing our website over the next couple of months. So we're looking at various sort of content management systems and other sort of online conversion optimization solutions to kind of help that. And I think from our digital property standpoint and our website, it's mainly geared for a small business. We have a lot of enterprise customers, but our website is not, let's say, the primary vehicle by which we communicate with them.
Great. What tools are you currently, is liveperson.com your primary domain? Do you guys have a lot of them, or is that for the most part where your focus lies?
No, LivePerson is our primary domain. I mean, we have other domains. We have a consumer site. I think we've just rebranded it to liveexperts.com. Let me see if it's live now. I haven't seen it in a while. No, it's not live yet, which is basically more of a consumer side of our business, where we help experts connect with people who have questions by chat. So it can be around, hi, I have a question around Java development, a little bit like an Odesk or an Elance, if you wish, but not limited to the confines of IT, but more sort of general stuff. Sometimes it can be like psychology, spirituality, and other things of that nature, if you see what I mean. Let me just find you the URL, because if you go to liveperson.com/experts, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. Okay, now yeah, and just to verify, is our screen recording working? You see your site? I just entered in the domain you referenced.
That's totally fine as long as you don't, use it as a poster child for your marketing campaigns.
Yeah. No, I was making sure you're able to see right now the screen sharing.
Oh yeah, I can see fine. You've got Chrome and you're looking at the liveperson.com website.
Okay, great. What tools are you currently using on the web analytics and on LivePerson?
So we use a number of tools in that regard. We use Site Catalyst. We use Google Analytics. We use ClickTail. We use our own solutions as well. And I think I think those are the main ones. We also use Optimizely. We use a bunch of tools.
Okay. All right. Do you have any particular pain points on your side, just out of curiosity, things that you still haven't been able to answer, or you're specifically looking for further insight into? Any particular pain points that you're familiar with?
Yeah, I'm still not 100% satisfied with some of the usability aspects. We have ClickTail running on it, but it's a very kind of small business kind of geared solution, in my opinion. And so I'm particularly interested in, and I see on your website, sort of the more the digital competitive intelligence solution that you may have. But I'm kind of curious as to, how you define your space and the kind of solutions that you provide overall. Our website now is on I think it's a Drupal website, and we're looking at Adobe CQ5 as well as part of our relaunch. And we don't have like an exact time yet, but we're looking at the next 3 to 6 months to just change our our branding in our digital channels as well in one go.
Okay. Yeah, great. Based off, so I'm assuming you have familiarity with both ClickTail and the Omniture capability-wise. Yeah, based off that, those are two perfect companies as a starting point that I'll be showing you, basically giving a 10-minute capability overview with the focus on the differentiators, particularly from those two, and applicability. On the analytics end, and as you said, usability is our is going to be the clear focus in this case. It usually is anyway for practical usage more than capabilities on your end. And after that, I'm going to go 5 to 10 minutes into digital competitive intelligence. Both of our modules are integrated. We have a web intelligence, deep analytics technology, as well as digital competitive intelligence from the same dashboard. So that's usually the agenda on our end. And please feel free to interrupt me at any time.
Cool.
Okay. So first off, Upago, we're a digital marketing intelligence company, and once again, 360 real-time web intelligence is our descriptor for using an analytics technology as well as competitive intelligence. Our biggest differentiator is on every website, the Google Analytics and the Omnitures by default are storing a transition from page to page. That's when a record is created on the site. From there, you have a lot of aggregation, a lot of analysis, but the raw source that's stored is just the page-to-page transition. We're storing the entire experience on the website as its own unique specific data point. So I guess similar to ClickTail on the top from I guess the 10,000 foot view, we're storing every mouse movement, every individual keystroke and entry. We're storing all of the on-page behavioral analytics and integrating that, with also a more sophisticated solution on the premise of an Omniture type product, all from one data source. So it's a complete record of everything that happens on your site. The big differentiator from ClickTail from a source, aside from there's a lot of usability from a source, is ClickTail is taking a static picture of each site they visit, and then they're kind of outputting a few keystrokes and functionality on top of that picture. We're storing and recreating everything from direct source code, so it's responsive to viewports, it's responsive, it's a lot more responsive for direct changes on your site and more accurate in those regards.
Can you give me some examples?
Justin, are you on the, can you differentiate that a little more clear than him for?
So a different example would be if you have a responsively designed website and it looks different from a tablet or mobile phone versus a desktop computer. Mm-hmm. They're taking a picture of what the page looks like, on the desktop and displaying that for the tablet and the phone as well, which isn't actually how your end user saw your site. So what we're doing in difference is responsibly loading the site as your user saw it. So it's a true depiction of what your user saw, and not just a static image of it.
Okay, I'm also aware of Tealeaf, right, which is probably an older player in that space. We don't really use Tealeaf, but how would you differentiate your solution from a Tealeaf?
The differentiator for actually both of them as well, ClickTail and Tealeaf, is if I type, let me see, I don't see an active form on your website. If you have a form entry on your website, pre-submit, and let's say that I were to write my name, press delete, then write different information within a text field. We would be able to measure the typing speed within an individual field. We'd be able to run queries such as average delete on that field entry, average time hesitated, deeper analysis, because we're storing each individual keystroke as its own data record, as opposed to Tealeaf, for instance, you have to dig into each session. They don't have all of their complete information searchable. It's searchable with one key identifier for a session, and from there you need to look at the session. So that's the, I know we're getting a bit deep there. I should probably move forward and we can dig deeper into those. But that's just to mainframe what our solution is on the top level is really all of the advanced intelligence tools plus ClickTail, which is usability focused. T-Leaf is error discovery focused. We have it all integrated into one module, so you can kind of do both from the same source.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm showing you here is an example. We don't need to dig too deep for the products you're familiar with, but it's an example of a session replay. Couple key points for usability is on the bottom right. Anytime I click that button, what that's doing is recreating from the exact resolution of your customer. That's accurate for mobile as well as desktop, and you have the ability to pause and speed up the session replay. What I'm showing here is mobile specific, and in this case, what you're going to be seeing here, we do have proprietary technology as first company to delve into the complete mobile experience, where what you're going to be seeing on this screen is the differentiator between the first and second touch point on a mobile screen. I'm going to let it play for a few seconds, but that's what the orange and blue you're seeing is the finger interaction on a mobile device on your website.
Cool.
And yeah, the other point here, when we mention all this storage data points, it means everything you see playable, it's all strategically integrated from all of our analytic data. So if you wanted to also know what's the average time of finger movement, what's the average position, etc., you can do a deeper dig into all of that information, anything you say. So orientation was also shown in this mobile format. So that's just a general example of the look and feel. Now, from a usability perspective, this is actually, we might have an interesting discussion on this end. So what I'm showing here is, this is also exclusive to us from our competitors. It's a live traffic recreation where, let's say, either you want to look at a live dashboard for multiple sessions at once, and you want to tag and filter the business rules that create that interaction. So if you wanted to see, for instance, my visitors from China who've abandoned our site twice, I want to see a live dashboard of their activity where I can actively engage each user. So this is an example. Obviously, you guys are going much deeper on this realm, but the premise here is you're able to go seamlessly from the analytics dashboard to the live view, and you're also able to actively engage the customers, monitor them for usability, supplement for customer service. The capability is the main key point there. So it's exclusive to be able to do this. Number one, when we say real time, our differentiator as well from the ClickTail in particular is most analytics products, real time means after you leave the page, the record is created. So if I'm on a specific page, it's a lot easier on us on the technical end to create a post page within 20, 30 seconds. We're recreating this on the fly while you're on the actual page. So from a functionality standpoint, it's a significant upgrade for the term, live, which these days is very vague in our industry.
I just can't help noticing that chat live button on the left-hand side. As you know, LivePerson is a chat provider, a provider of live chat. I was just kind of curious about that particular feature.
Okay, so this is why I said we'd have an interesting, of course. So we have a lot of basic out-of-the-box functionality. With this chat example on our end is it's not very deep. It's a simple way to chat with the live customers, and it's integrated by default into our live module. And I don't know exactly the difference on our end as well is you can correlate all of this viewing and ability to chat with all of the analytics data for each user in session as well. So I will say it's not something on our end. It's something that we're customizing for companies if they want to use it a particular way, but it's not a main feature of our product. It's more a representation of integrating, if that's the request. So.
Okay.
From this dashboard on your live traffic, this is one of our bigger usability differentiators as well. What this is we call the entire customer experience from one dashboard. What we have here is for an individual user on your site, this record is created for every visitor, where this large container is the individual page view. Underneath here is the current session. So we also uniquely give a panoramic view. We're taking screenshots of each page as well, so you can see the panoramic view of the entire session with the ability to play each individual page.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger asset usability-wise here is if you see this tab on the top left. This is correlating each visitor's entire history from this one dashboard. So you can go back to past sessions. You can customize the information you want displayed, on top. In this case, we have page and duration by default. And when we define this as customer, you can also integrate this to a CRM or any identifier on a client end for information that's already available. So it's just a very easy, user-friendly way to, most analytics you have to dig around to quite a few dashboards to get the data you want. It gives you that experience to dig back and forth. So.
Okay, cool.
On the bottom here.
Can you relate this to demographic or psychographic data?
Yes. On the bottom here, once again, we have default statistics output for each session. We have the ability to seamlessly choose what, we're storing 1,000, approximately, I believe, 20,000 different points of data for each user session. So by default, we kind of give the norm, but you can select business rules and tags, segmentation to be queried and also output on each individual container. I'm going to show the back end as well. That'll answer those questions. The main point to take in here is the data and the video playing, et cetera, is all from one view. So.
Cool.
At this point, I'm going to, this is going to be a 10,000 foot view from the top level. We have the main dashboard with analytics. It can be defined on your end for what's important, and every analytic you see is integrated to our video view. So if we want to take a look at an individual segment, in this case, we're looking at traffic that arrived from Google Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see the differentiator from ClickTale very quickly once we. So in this case, we have this intermediary view that shows the session by session for each page on your website. We tried to give as much information in regards to SEO and demographics, session flow information from each view. You can seamlessly switch from a session view to page view to customer view for that segment. So, of course, if you had one person on your site who visited the site 2 times, 10 pages each time, this number would adjust to seamlessly go back and forth, once you choose that segment. So that's usability-wise, just, it just kind of lets you slice and dice the data without having to dig around. So, I'm also going to, let me get it in my correct environment here. So.
The challenge that I've experienced with ClickTale, and again, I'm not the specialist because we have someone in our web ops team that really manages it, is great. You get all this data about all these sessions and stuff, but we never really know what are the important sessions, right, to be looking at. Because or else you could spend like years looking at every single session. And at least that's what I had understood from the web ops team, is that they weren't pretty happy in the way that it was hard for them to identify let's say the relevant sessions versus those sessions that are perhaps less critical, right? So maybe it's around people coming from particular industries or who've typed particular search terms, and that segment of our online traffic is perhaps more important than people who are 12 years old and who are visiting from somewhere in the South Pacific, for instance. How would you kind of solve that problem in this solution?
Well, by default, we also, any statistic that's searchable that we store can be added seamlessly as a filter for this data.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that to answer that much deeper and to make sure that you have relevancy for each company, we have a tagging system that allows you to go as deep as the examples I mentioned before. If you want to look at a segment of someone who hesitated over a security seal on a payment site, came from China, did different behavioral and key entry actions, we're able to use all of the information we store into a couple different segmenting and labeling modules. So I'm going to give you a quick example here and show how it's also related from the other views. And that might answer your question. If not, we can revisit. So in this case, let's say we wanted to define the traffic segment of high-value customers. However that's defined for your site. We use a color system for all of our tagging. The reason we do that is in every view I've shown before, including the live view, it's a simple identifier so you can hover over as opposed to having long-winded tags, you know. So it's an easy way to know who your live traffic is based on your priorities. So with that color system, you can define, in our case, you can go much deeper than traditional analytics, much deeper than an Omniture, much deeper than usually the sites associated with, you know, that provide deep tagging, pushing content and delivery. So in this case, if we want to define this visitor a specific way, we also have a value system integrated into tagging. So if I wanted to say a high value customer, I want to increase the value of that customer every time he visits. I can choose a score for this. Let me give a clear example in that case. If this was sales related, that's the tag we applied, we could say that I want the value of this customer to increase by 5 every time he makes a purchase. I want the value of the customer to increase by 10 if he happens to be from China, or if he comes from mobile, I can say that it's worth 1. So this gives you over the longitude of the customer's history. In the past modules I've shown, this is my fake page, but this value score lets you use that as another point of discovery to understand and, you know, look for what you want. So that's integrated into the same tagging system, and we have flexibility to do that on every occurrence of the event to increment the number, only to apply the number once. For segments such as demographics, usually you wouldn't want the client to keep gaining value when he visited. But for something like sales, you probably, every time he made a sale, that would be a more high-value customer. So that's the long story short of the main analysis system. It just allows you control to, like you said, then search and only view visits in those particular scenarios. Aside from that, the other practical use on our end is, are you familiar with conversion funnels, Damien?
With, excuse me, conversion what?
Conversion funnels?
Oh, yes, naturally.
Okay, naturally. It's just, I have to ask. So on that note, too,
Well, because I used to work at an art technology group, and so, yeah, so this is something that I'm pretty comfortable with.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm not even going to dig too deep into there. Just the premise of when you're defining any abandoned or particular visitors, in our case, you can always sync directly to the video session, and that will also accurately output website-generated errors. It'll accurately show what happened. So that's just an example of practical use for analysis. You can, you know, define 50 of these if you want. Aside from that, I'm going to show you this view here is something that's usually the most relevant for companies who are trying to figure out how to add value in their case. I'm in my development environment to show you a couple of specific things. That's why you want to see code output. So this example here was I'm not allowed to list the client this is for, so we made a mock-up that's similar to their site. It's for a bank. They gave us a scenario of this is the highest value conversion process on our website. Show us how storing this extra data can provide practical value on a macro and micro basis. You know, that's where we were at with them. So we set up a couple-month pilot where we took a look at their form and we created custom analytics to solve their pain point. In this example, they said this is a wealth management page where their biggest goal was to decide which clients were worth upselling, because they had a lot of they had a very thorough upsell process to move someone ahead in wealth management. So the way we solve that problem is because we're storing everything that happens pre-submit. We said that if a client chooses a higher value and then chooses a lower one afterwards, we're going to add a specific metric on your site that lets you know he's a prime upsell target. Because if I'm ordering food at a restaurant and I order something for $20, then last second I change my mind and order something for $10, there's a pretty good chance that I have $20 in my pocket from the forefront. So that was an example on this page is macro analysis over, regardless of the number of data on that field, customizing the choices made. This confidence analytic here as well was, this is all, us using common sense and practicality. Is we also said, if you want to make this process, if customers aren't confident about what their total investable assets are, we're going to define a metric that says if they make 3 choices before clicking submit, that means their confidence level is 33%. So macro-wise, you see 38% was the total, and they're trying to obviously, through changes in usability and layout and metrics, trying to increase that number as much as possible. And this is, practical analysis for them to understand the process. So, these are all on a site-by-site basis. Is the best way to use any tool like this is to take a look at your highest value segments and then customize the functionality to not have a data dump, So.
Okay. So we have, for our forms on our website, we have Marketo forms, and we also work with Demandbase. I don't know if you're familiar with this company, to kind of help us with form submissions and auto completions and things like that. So that, for instance, if you give us your email address, we don't necessarily need you to complete, the name of your employer or the address or the size of the company or things like that.
Are they capturing that pre-submit as well? If someone enters in their email, because usually, I'm not familiar with that particular module, but do you happen to know whether or not that requires them to submit the data? If they enter in the data without submission, do you still have access to the point of entry?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, as far as I know, no one else has that. As far as we know, I'll always ask in the industry. That's just a little differentiator when it comes down to depth and storage.
So, okay, so that's interesting. So what you're saying is that, like, I started filling out a form, I entered some data, and then you come and ask me about my social security number or whatever, and then I abandon the form. You could still capture that data and pass it on to the marketing department.
Yeah, correct. We have that.
Is that what you think?
We have that capability, correct. From a legal perspective, of course, that's not going to be used in every case and scenario. By default, of course, we have selective. We can't do passwords, can't do financial information, but that's kind of on a company-by-company basis what your primary call to action associated. But capability-wise, it's there. Yes, absolutely. So in our case, what usually is the unquestionable scenario is if someone had a web-based error on their end that caused them to struggle and basically want you to have their information, you would have it in each instance. So in this case, actually, to move on the same scenario, I mentioned the micro-analysis. We have a customized view for their form that only shows the data that was entered with the label of whether or not it was abandoned, and also a couple of deeper metrics for average engagement time within the field. So these are just really examples of going much deeper and laser focusing the added value on a company's pain points, because that's the biggest problem with all these analytics products, especially the advanced ones, is now your tech guys have it, and what's the next step here. So aside from that, and like I said, I've already went over longer than we've said, we do have reporting modules and quite a few different views and options to be able to send email throughout your organization, view data in a few different bar graphs and views, add metrics to compare to starting points, and we also have the capability with all this deeper depth of allowing you to create the metrics used in these different modules to, in the example of the bank there, to use the extra data in a practical way. So on our end, this is what the extent of what I'm going to show on the analytics end. If we want to do a deeper dive in the future, we'd be more than welcome. But next I was going to show the digital intelligence.
That's fine. I just have, because we do a lot of search engine marketing, and I'd be curious to know, because now, as you know, and this, I think this happened last year, Google is now sort of withholding the name, the actual keyword that originated from the organic search. And I was wondering how you, or if you kind of overcome that problem.
Yeah, Google makes a lot of changes. Basically, they don't like people like us who are taking the information and using it from them. I'll give you the long story short of our digital competitive intelligence is the last 5 years we've been indexing domains on the internet. We've been Google and Bing, it's estimated have approximately 30 million domains in their, I'm sorry, just Google has approximately 30 million domains in their index out of approximately 180 million total registered domains. Obviously, that's because the liability is on each website to be noticed by Google, because their storage protocols are basically saying if you're a worthwhile website, you're going to be tagged or integrated or ping us to be listed. So in some cases, you have sites that'll take a month, 2 months, etc. The point being there is we have a much more aggressive storage algorithm where we have an index of the entire internet in one database. So that's approximately 180 million domains that we're delivering as a service for companies to be able to basically do advanced searches and queries across the internet or across their particular industry. I'm going to give out two examples here, I think, before we ask questions, usually easiest. So this is just a dummy site. We output our database on about 50 to 60 different websites where we kind of created different algorithms and patterns for particular reasons. So this example, we have keyword football. The term keyword in our case, this isn't a meta keyword. This is custom defined internally as every time this word is used 3 times within the text, I want to know the websites who are using this capability exclusively. So the point there would be is if your company made a request that's not in the default of a search engine, we would be able to customize that query for our database. And we would be able to output it in a search engine view. The other example of a practical for competitor trending analysis and monitoring is within our analytics dashboard. If you want to put in a specific website, we have.
Yeah, could you just take me an example, for instance? So these would be like your competitors, right? So you like Cocktail and Tea Leaf stuff, right? Or like, can you just put in like live chat in there?
Yeah, as a term, live chat. Let's see. Yeah, the auto search. So these are all of the.
It'll return a lot of like adult sites, probably.
What's that?
I hope it doesn't return lots of adult websites.
Yeah, that's actually our biggest issue. Is we get a lot of complaints and messages from the adult sites who are increasing the awareness to them. So, but yeah, no, that example you said right there. Yeah, the auto search in this. Yeah, I'm opening up a different link. The auto search in this case, yeah. So this is just a practical way to search the internet and understand what's out there. Used a lot of times, of course, in keyword and search engine analysis as a step 1. And I just kind of showed that from this page as well. So you would potentially add key competitors you would want to monitor and understand SEO, social media traffic trends. If I were to add specific competitors and then I'm able to compare them from a dashboard and I'm able to benchmark, here's a clear example there. That was from the dashboard. This would be, you chose 3 competitors, you have their traffic rank updated every week, and you also have the changes within their source code that were correlated with the traffic rank. So, if you had a competitor and you said, hey, their traffic increased 20% over the last month, I also noticed that they have 10 million more Facebook likes. There's probably a correlated campaign there. We need to take a closer look to understand if that could be of use.
Very cool.
The other premise here is, anything with source code, we give all these default examples, but we can go much deeper for analytics or, anything that's possible to view from a site. This example here is, we would allow you to define your industry by specific keywords. So if you said, for instance, I want to define my industry as people using the term live with X amount of traffic, that's a simple example. We could monitor your entire industry and say, for instance, jQuery was used over the last month 3.4% more over your industry. The average page load speed of your industry was X or Y. So we have defaults here, but with any enterprise such as yourself who's doing advanced analysis, we always have a couple-hour KPI meeting to understand what you want to see. So the takeaway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I apologize for the background noise, but can I just ask you a question? Why would the number of jQuery updates be relevant to, like, in this case? What would be the use case?
Well, the use case would usually be if I invented XYZ technology tomorrow and XYZ technology is helping sites in a specific way. You would you would be able to see that sites are using this new technology, and you'd be able to see the adoption growing in that case. That's the premise of discovery, you know. So, like I said, these are just, you know, examples on a particular request, but that's the mentality behind understanding that. The other mentality is if someone's, let's say, using a specific cache tool, a specific way to optimize their site better with zipping technology, it just comes down to if my competition's doing it, it might be worthwhile. Or, of course, if we know that it's not advantageous, you can use that in a sales pitch to differentiate or, you know, move ahead. So. That's all the these things are, you know, top level views. So, yeah, on our end, that's you know, the extent of our usual introduction. And from this point on, the next step would be to, once again, we've already kind of went back and forth with a few scenarios. Would be to either schedule a deeper dig or discuss you know, any other questions you would have on your end. What do you think would be the best step based on scenario? Damien.
Well, first of all, you know, thank you for demoing your capabilities. I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what would the added value for LivePerson to be adding this to its website as opposed to its existing, you know, ClickTail deployment. Just right.
It's a very fair question. When we do these, you know, quicker, like I said, when we're doing this capability overview now, it's a very, very fair question to need to qualify on our end.
Yeah, and I understand now. I'm just, I guess I'd be more curious in terms of like, is it just a tag that we put on our website, and then and is it a price? Maybe there's a pricing aspect. Maybe you guys perhaps would have a different price point than ClickTail.
Well, yeah, our pricing is based on variable page views. We are a higher price point. As far as ClickTail recently removed theirs publicly, but we are a higher level price point than them on page view basis. But our differentiators, we are kind of having the Omniture and the Google Analytics, the complete analytics integrated from the source as well. You know, that's the biggest difference here, I suppose, is ClickTail, we mentioned the raw capability differentiator, but they have everything listed. They have everything listed from one view where you can see each session. They don't have the integration. They don't have the live macro-based views, the capability to customize everything for relevancy internally. You know, they're a product for small businesses, period. You know, they have an API that they want to add. It's cut and paste. We can deploy in 10 seconds. T-Leaf is more relevant from a particular, you know, competitor because they have a primarily enterprise focus, but they once again are also they're not an analytics product. They make that very clear. They're an add-on tool for customer experience management, whereas we integrated all of these capabilities from the same dashboard and most importantly the same data source. You know, you can integrate all these products, but it's most efficient, of course, if it's all generated within the source. So you know, even for potential integrations with other products. So, but no, that's certainly something I would ask on our end to give the chance to dig deeper. That's the biggest understanding is, you know, the added value. So.
Okay, I mean that's a good point. You mentioned around sort of variable page views, and Justin talked about responsive websites. How do you reconcile a page view pricing model in a sort of responsive website world?
Our page view pricing model is it's straightforward. It's straightforward based on variable pricing per month. We're not adjusting and differentiating mobile page views versus computer, etc. We're not different. What we will do is for actually, I'm pretty sure, confident you guys qualify for websites with over, I believe, 5 million monthly unique page views. We run an internal test to understand the load and give a much more accurate price point depending on the footprint of everything. Because our internal pain point is the movement on the page, not the page views. The page views is just kind of that's why I'm always hesitant to give pricing because it varies a lot depending on if your site is journalism where they're moving for maybe 20 minutes average visitor, etc. So,
right. Also, we're considering moving to a responsive website, and so I'd be kind of curious as how that would work. Because you know, even from a live chat perspective, we have a lot of customers who are moving to responsive websites, and and so I'm kind of curious about how you would do that. Do you have any customers using responsive websites today?
Absolutely, absolutely. When you say
responsive, the theory behind responsive is growing tremendously. It's a lot more efficient to design from that aspect as opposed to create a totally separate website for mobile.liveperson.com. It's a lot more work involved to create a new domain for your mobile users versus your tablet users, and so on and so forth.
Right. And that's the thing, is that, and then in that case, it would always be just one page view?
Right. Basically, anytime liveperson.com loads, whether it's on a tablet or a phone or a computer, if it's responsive to the device type is irrelevant. When the page loads, it's a page load, right? So the device type is all the same on the the page view cost analysis.
Okay. Okay, good. And in terms of customer references in the high-tech space, are there any companies that you can mention?
So we've been out. We just launched publicly about 3 months ago on our end, and we have because we do competitive intelligence. We're not, for the time being, we're not releasing information. I will tell you that most of our larger enterprises we're still on building. We've already delivered a de facto solution, and we're getting requests to keep building and customizing. So we're going to be still in discovery mode when it comes to delivery. So, it's a negative, of course. On that note, it's also the practical next step with any enterprise your size would not be a complete overhaul over your current technology. It would be a pilot on particular pages on your site or X amount of traffic. And in that case, our most practical next step would be over a 3-month period, let us add our capabilities onto a specific page and segment, and from there we would come back to you showing you the added value and the analytics you were allowed to discover. That's usually our process. Then after that we would, of course, hope for a complete implementation and the ability to replace current products. But I know the build and time and analysis needed, so being a newer company, that's almost always requested from larger enterprise. But it also gives us, of course, capability that we do have no degrees of separation between our developers and marketing team. We don't have 10 degrees of separation. It was created 20 years ago from, Windows 95. We are all very much in the loop. On that note, I'm the COO. Justin is the COO. We both have a technical and business background, and we both have our hands directly into the database and structure. So if you want to create customizations from dashboard integrations, it's much more seamless, and we can work much more efficiently without, the nuances of most of our competitors, such as the Adobes, who have 500 different products, who they're working together. So pros and cons in both ways.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Last question. Do you do any heat maps?
Yes, we do. I didn't show everything within here, but I'll tell you one of our differentiators on the heat map. I forget how it clicked out. Do you guys use Crazy Egg? Are you familiar with that by chance? Damien? Here's ClickTail what you use for him.
Can you repeat the question, ClickTail? Sorry?
Do you use ClickTail for heat maps, or do you use a different technology?
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.